People celebrated in Melbourne on Wednesday after Australians indicated in a survey that they would approve same-sex marriage. Scott Barber, Getty Images. Melbourne, Australia. A solid majority of Australians voted in favour of same-sex marriage in a historic survey that, while not binding, paves the way for Parliament to legally recognise the unions of gay and lesbian couples. Of 12.7 million Australians who took part in the government survey, 61.6% voted yes and 38.4% voted no, officials announced on Wednesday morning. Participation was high, with 79.5% of voting-age Australians sending back their postal ballots. The Australian people have spoken, and they have voted overwhelmingly yes for marriage equality, said Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who called the survey in a move described by advocates as a delay tactic devised to appease his party's far-right faction. They voted yes for fairness, they voted yes for commitment, they voted yes for love. The high turnout and unequivocal result amounted to a rebuke for Australia's most conservative politicians, many of whom saw a majority of their constituents vote to support same-sex marriage despite their arguments against it. Proponents of gay rights spent the day celebrating. They gathered in cities around the country to watch news broadcasts of the survey results. The largest crowd, at Prince Alfred Park in Sydney, broke into cheers, with hugs, dancing and tears, as soon as the news was announced. "This is our proudest moment as gay and lesbian Australians," said Chris Lewis, 60, an artist from Sydney, who waved a large rainbow flag he bought in San Francisco about 30 years ago. "Finally I can be proud of my country," but many Australians said it was also late in coming. Annika Lowry, 42, who brought her 4-year-old daughter to the celebration, said the vote revealed a widening gap between Australia's political class and voters who have been demanding same-sex marriage legislation for years. "It was not just about us," she said. "It's for our kids, so that they know equality is important." Alex Greenwich, a state lawmaker from New South Wales and the co-chairman of Australian Marriage Equality, an advocacy group, said the vote shows that Australians have truly come together in support of their gay and lesbian mates and have said that everybody should be able to have the freedom to marry. In calling for the national survey, Mr. Turnbull sought public backing for a shift in social policy that was opposed by many members of his centre-right Liberal Party. Mr. Turnbull voted yes, and he urged other Australians to do so as a matter of fairness, seeking to blunt opposition from far-right members of his party. "Lucy and I are voting yes because it's fair. Make sure you have your say too by returning your survey form." pic.twitter.com/6exotic7pq, Malcolm Turnbull, at Turnbull Malcolm, Sept. 23, 2017, "My commitment was to give every Australian their say," Mr. Turnbull said after the results were announced. "That has been done, they have spoken." He added, "Now it is up to us, here in the Parliament of Australia, to get on with it, to get on with the job the Australian people have tasked us to do, and get this done, this year, before Christmas." Dean Smith, a federal senator from the Liberal Party, who is gay, said that he would immediately introduce a bill to legalise same-sex marriage. He said on Tuesday that he believed he had the votes to pass the legislation in the Senate and send it to Parliament's lower house for approval. Lyle Shelton, a Christian lobbyist who was the No campaign's most outspoken advocate, said he would begrudgingly accept the Democratic decision. "Millions of Australians will always believe the truth about marriage, that it's between one man and one woman," Mr. Shelton said. "It could take years, if not decades, to win that back." The record of subjecting same-sex marriage to a public vote remains mixed. In 2015, Ireland was the first country to legalise same-sex marriage by referendum, but the same year, voters in Slovenia rejected a law legalising such unions. A yes rally in Sydney, Australia, in September. Polls had consistently indicated that Australians favour legalising same-sex marriage. Saeed Khan, Agence France Presse, Getty Images. In the United States, numerous states outlawed same-sex marriage in referendums. In 2012, Maine, Maryland and Washington became the first states to legalize such unions by referendum. The United States Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage across the nation in 2015. The survey in Australia was controversial, not only because it placed such a thorny issue at the whims of direct democracy but also because of its cost. As the deadline approached for citizens to mail in their ballots, passions were inflamed by